Hey ladies and gentlemen, this is Javier with The Real Javier Novoa, where we apply the principles of spirituality and mysticism and philosophy and just any good things that I find out there and can synchronize into this teaching. We apply them to rapid lifestyle transformation. And today, I just wanted to take a little walk with you through this beautiful neighborhood. And I just wanted to go into sort of a freestyle philosophical discussion here. Not sure how long it's going to take. And I'm pretty sure that it's not going to be crafted in a way to get many viewers. But I don't care, because I know that our hardcore followers and the people who really want to benefit from this material will watch it and will benefit from it. If I can even benefit one person from our musings, from our talking, and we can come to some good conclusions together, I will have met my intention. And of course, no conclusion is really forthcoming here in the beginning, but I know it's going to lead to something great because it's all by inspiration. So, I was watching a little bit of Dan Pena the other day, and if you don't know who Dan Pena is, you can look him up. He's a very bombastic business speaker, and he has a lot of good points, but also I don't always agree with his approaches because he is very bombastic. Sometimes he insults and degrades people and so on, and that's not the way that I teach, but there are a lot of spiritual teachers who find that useful, and I think Dan Pena does it with an objective in mind, and there can actually many gems can be found in his works, as not only for business teaching but also for personal development, although he might not see it that way. And there was a point in one of his rants, I was watching some of his rants because they are entertaining, and there was a point in one of his rants, I don't know exactly what he was talking about, but he said, someone had asked him something, and he said, "You're just an insecure old man, and that's all there is to it. Just face that." And, of course, the person has to say yes. This automatically brought to my mind the aspects of certain spiritual and religious traditions about confessing and declaring, confession and declaration. And of course, in the Orthodox and Catholic religious traditions, the Eastern Orthodox and the Catholic traditions, there is the sacrament of confession. And people confess every week and some every day. And then they are liberated from their sins, so to speak, by this confession. Other spiritual traditions, like Eastern spiritual traditions, and also people who have studied those traditions and have adapted them to applications in the Western sense, like Joe Dispenza, have a very heavy declaration and confession component in that. And this can be very therapeutic in the sense that whatever you have subconsciously in your mind, or hidden in your mind, or in your psyche, there are two main ways of dealing with that. Either you can focus on something else, and that is good for a majority of the cases, because a lot of times you can focus on something else and that negative energy or vibration won't come up. But if it's something that you keep running into and you keep facing that situation, you keep getting triggered by the same points, then what a lot of people tend to do is simply hide that under the rug, sweep that under the rug, or try to deny it. And as we know, there's no assertion in the universe, there's no denial in the universe, there's simply attraction. So that the universe doesn't hear no, it only hears yes. Therefore, if you feel like an insecure person, but yet you say, "No, I'm completely secure," and you keep trying to affirm that, and yet nothing changes on the inside, well, nothing will change for you. And this is where confession and declaring come into their own, and I think that ties in with what Dan Pena talked about. So, for example, Saint John of Kronstadt, who was an Eastern Orthodox saint, he actually used to have his congregation do confessions of their sins publicly. They would shout their sins out. And as we know from this course and this model of spirituality, sin is not an ethical fault, so to speak. Sin means that you have not attained your objective. So, for example, if you want to make $50,000 but are only making $5,000, that is sin, so to speak. It is missing the mark. So when you are missing the mark, the first thing to do in many spiritual paths is to recognize that and indeed declare that. And Joe Dispenza goes into this in his book. He, in fact, has a whole meditation for making declarations, for declaring. So, for example, if someone feels anger, the first thing one would do is one could evoke a situation that provokes that anger. And then one would feel the feelings associated with that anger. Then one could make a declaration to God or to the universe saying, Lord, I confess that I have this anger and I am an angry person, for example. And he can confess that. And the moment that you put that into words and declarations, then you can observe that. And it is almost, in a certain point, it is like saying, okay, well, I am this person, so what? So, for example, Krishnamurti, he said that someone told him, you are an old fool. And he said, right, one may be an old fool, and I'll watch that. And then he continued doing what he was doing. So when you make that declaration, it's almost like saying, okay, I am that. So how can we apply this? How can we use this? Say you have some resistance to starting a project or a business. Say you have fear or insecurity about that. Well, you observe the feeling of that fear and insecurity, and then you can make a declaration. You can say, you know what? I feel this fear and I feel this insecurity. Then you can say, okay, I'm insecure and I'm fearful. So what? Then you'll realize, ladies and gentlemen, that that has no power over you. And the confession has done its job. You have been, in a sense, absolved of your sin. You've confessed it, you've let it out into the universe, and now you can release it. And it's with that releasing that comes something amazing, that comes something great, and that is the feeling of completeness, the feeling of joy. And then whatever steps you need to take will automatically unfold for you, and you will be guided to whatever outcome that you please. The point is here is that no matter what your temperamental makeup, you can attain everything that you wish by simply confessing, recognizing, and releasing the blocks, and then allowing whatever you want to come to you easily. I just wanted to go into a short musing on that because I thought that that was a great point, and it is something that we are integrating into our course and into our work. So if you find our material of value, ladies and gentlemen, please subscribe and like, because it's the way we get the word out, and it's the way that we get this information to the people who need it and the people who can benefit from it. So thanks very much for watching. With great love and appreciation, this is Javier with The Real Javier Novoa. Thank you.